Hello, everyone. Welcome to Punish for Protecting. Today we have something that I really would like everybody to seriously take to heart. Jodi Mueller, her story, what we're about to show you, and then we're going to do an interview with Jodi and Lara Thompson. This is so utterly diabolical and urgent that I just did a video a little bit ago talking about the fact that we need to do a national citizen's arrest. This is just one more reason why we need to do this. We're about to show you a video footage, and many of you know Jodi Mueller. You know the work that she's done. You know the advocacy that she's done. You've seen Judging the Judges, where she's talked about her case. This is a mother that has no criminal history. She doesn't do drugs. She has a clean background. She has been so abused, and not for a short period of time, for a very long period of time. She is representative of so many of you out there. And we as a nation, if we don't do something about this, this is the kind of thing that's going to continue to happen right in our own borders. This has to stop. So we're about to show you a video right now that happened, I believe, 2 days ago. Right, Jodi? 2 days ago. That if this doesn't set some fire under your ass to do the right thing, nothing will. So we're going to show this clip right now.
Don't let me tell them goodbye so I can end my life tonight. I want to tell my babies goodbye.
Can't see it.
Chris, you're doing this. I just want to tell them goodbye. I just begging you to let me see my kid's face. Why can't I say goodbye to my children? Why can't mothers get their fucking kids in the cell? Why are only men getting them? Even Chuck Grassley said that I should have my kids. What is wrong with you people? I want that judge arrested right now. Your citizen's arrest. She's violating my rights. Go get her.
They continued it to the 11th. They continued it to the 11th because Tim wasn't served. She thought serving his attorney.
That's the entire video. 1 minute, 18 seconds.
That doesn't show. I mean, it didn't come on.
There's more, Jodi, to that?
No, it didn't come on the video.
It's on the live. It's airing on many different broadcasts right now.
And there was more to that. There was about 5 more minutes because she didn't start videoing. I didn't even know she was doing that. So there was a lot that you missed, but she got the most. She got the best of it, I guess I would say.
Well, and you know, this is like I said, this is. I know that dads think that this is just happening to them, and I emphasize this all the time. And I know that moms think that this is just happening to them. This is a diabolical crisis. This is something that this should not be happening. This is something that should definitely not be happening and continuing to happen. And I would like to show the judge's face today. I would like to talk about this judge that is doing this to you, but let's just, anybody that doesn't know you, Jodi, let's get them up to date a little bit with what's led to this. What's led to this?
Do you want me to talk about why Monday happened, or do you want me to go back to the beginning?
I give them a platform, like a basis of what's occurred in your case and
well,
going on.
This has been going on for so many years. As most people know, with alienation, it happens in an intact family, and it started while I was married to this man when my kids were very, very young. I mean, 4, 2, and 5 weeks old. and he left. He has abducted my kids numerous times, and there is no basically criminal report because the cops don't care. They just say it's a civil matter. So, and a lot of times when these people take your children, you know they're narcissistic, and if you dare report them, you'll never see them again. So on a lot of those instances, I just prayed I'd see my kids again. And I was just trying to make it his idea to bring them back. You know, in my messages, you know, it's in the best interest to bring them back. But he would take them across state lines numerous times where I didn't know where they were. So in 2000, this man never had much to do with these kids. From 2000 to 2013, he saw them about once every 12 to 18 months for that whole 13 years. The first 3 years after he left in 2000, he saw them 3 times in 3 years. That was the most he'd seen them. But yeah, for that 13-year span, I was the only parent basically in their life, other than a second husband I was married to for 4 years, was of a great father figure to these children. And in around 2012, he met some doctor in the state of Iowa who bought him a house that he was supposed to rent for $500,000. And she helped him with the alienation as well. I don't know if it was knowingly or unknowingly or what happened. But the very last 2 times that he abducted my first 2 was in April of 2013. He took my children from the back door of the school. I show up at the school. I'm waiting there 20 minutes for my kids to come out, thinking in my mind, oh my God, I must have forgot they were doing a test. What a horrible mom I am, because I've got 4 kids and maybe they told me something I forgot. I called the school. They said, no, we saw him walk out the back door. So I'm in sheer panic calling the middle school. I'm racing 9 miles down to the middle school in Dallas Center, Iowa, calling the sheriff at the same time. And he already knew about those incidences that Tim had taken my kids. So the sheriff was on his way to the middle school as well. When I called the middle school, I said, don't let him have my twins because I'll never see these kids again. She said, we don't have a no contact order, so it's whoever gets here first is the winner, is what she said. It's first come, first serve in Iowa. So she goes, you better get here before him or we have no other option but to give him those children. I said, get my twins on the phone. They were 7th graders then. Get them on the phone. I'm on my way. I'm going to call you right back. And that's why I was calling the sheriff at the same time. I call them back. My kids are now, you know, I'm 2 miles from there at this point. I said, what are you going to do if your dad shows up? We'd already kind of had a game plan because I already knew he was going to take my kids. From the moment I gave birth to that first child, something in me said, I'm not going to see this kid later in life. He's going to take this kid. And we can go back to that part later as to why, but my kids got on the phone and I said, put me on speaker so everyone knows they're not coached. Your dad, I believe, took the other kids. There would be no other person that would have. Like I said, I didn't even know he was in the town. Didn't even know he's in the state. He's not from Iowa. He wasn't living in Iowa at the time. So the girl said, I'm going to do this. One other girl said, I'm going to do this to him. I don't know if you want me to put on here what they said, but they said, we're waiting for Sheriff Leonard to get here. We're not going to leave unless Sheriff Leonard tells us to go with him. I said, okay, good job. The sheriff gets there. Don't ever let that man take these kids. Okay. So then 28 days later, the man had them 28 days, the first 2. We're now in front of Judge Martha Mertz, down in Wayne County, Iowa, which is an hour and a half away. An hour and a half away, this man made sure I was down in southern Iowa, where it's a rural area where men usually get the kids. Down in that area. I know. I have relatives there. I lived there at one time, and that is happening. I get down there. Martha Mertz says, how long since you've seen these kids? I said, 28 days. And she says, well, how long since he's seen the twins? I said, oh, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks. And she goes, and why is that? I said, I don't know. You'll have to ask him. He has no He doesn't care about the twins. It's only the first two. And he's alienating these siblings from one another is what he's doing. And so she goes, well, he's going to get the twins tonight. I want everyone to know this. He's going to get the twins tonight after he just abducted the first two. And I said, but he just abducted them. My twins are scared to death. And she says, if you don't take these twins to him tonight, I'll see your ass in the jail because I'll put your ass in jail.
I just put her picture. Can you put her picture up for everybody to see while she tells this story? Judge Martha Mertz.
Martha Mertz.
Judge Crap.
Yes. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to take these children. They're going to be scared to death because they're scared because their dad took the twins. And I've never put it in my head that you're going to be kidnapped. You're going to be kidnapped. That was never, we've never discussed, that. And so I said, you got to understand, I haven't seen these kids in 28 days. She goes, then 29 won't matter. So I had to take them. And I said, well, I got to work. I'm going to have the boyfriend at the time. We've been together 4 years. He took them. He called me up. He was crying. He says, my God, those girls were so petrified. They said, we're never going to see our mommy again, are we? We're never going to see her again. Please don't take us to the door. And he had to drag them to the door. My ex opens the door and says, well, hello, ladies. I didn't think you were coming, so we don't have beds for you. You're going to have to sleep on the floor. He'd already bought brand new beds for the kids, a whole bedroom set for each of those other two, and my girls had to sleep on the floor. I'm not saying that's abusive. I mean, they got food, clothing, shelter, so you can't get them on that, but just the way he treated them. And they said they hid underneath Kaylin's bed the whole night. They were scared. They didn't want him to keep them there. So I got them back. Martha Mertz also that day said, you're going to take children in the middle with him. So with this abductor, I'm going to take children in the middle. And she says, and Tim will make the appointment. I said, he'll never do it. He's going to isolate the kids even longer. He's never going to do it. And she says, well, you're going to get the kids back the following day, but you're still going to go to children in the middle with him. And I said, I'm scared to death of him. Not like physically, but he twists my words and he's going to get on the stand and say something about me that didn't happen. And there's so many children in the middle classes in Iowa. Why can't I go to a different one? She goes, nope, with him. And I said, I'm scared to death. And she goes, well, he doesn't look scary to me. I said, neither did Ted Bundy. I'm telling you, lady, there's something wrong with him. And so we go together, separate cars, but he gets in there and I tell the instructor, I want to make sure that I'm far away from him. She goes, you mean to tell me Judge Martha Mertz is making you come in here together? She goes, I am so sick of this. She does this to every woman. Every single woman that says you've been abused, she makes the man make the appointment and she forces them in here together. And I found out since then she continues to do it. Well, she had told us in the hearing, this is your homework assignment. You're going to learn 3 things from that class, and I want you to tell me 1 thing new you learned and 2 things that you've applied. And I'm like, okay. So we go in. Well, let me go back. When I'm in the meeting, I sat in the very front. The instructor put me right next to her. So Tim's 2 tables behind me. They hand out little stickers, that you put on your chest with your name on it. Okay. Well, I had on a certain shirt. I can't remember, but if I would have put that on, Laura knows, about material and stuff, it would have messed up my shirt. So I just said, look, here's my name. I'm just going to lay it here. Okay. And she goes, okay. There's no one in front of me, so no one can see my name anyway. My back is to everybody. I'm looking at the screen and I can't participate in the class because if I say something, and I have a lot of experience with kids. I had 4 kids. I could have said, oh, yeah, that doesn't work. Or, but I said nothing. She goes around the room. She asks for how many children we have. That was the only question. How many children do you have? I said, I have 4. She gets to the back and when she asked Tim, how many children do you have? He goes, I don't know why she wouldn't say my children's names, but it's Kaylin, Brianne, Terry. It's blah, 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 blah. And she's naming all these names and their birth dates. And I'm freaking out going, why would you give their birthdays? Why don't you give their social security? So anyway, with the meeting's over, we go back to the hearing a few weeks later, and she says, tell me what you learned in the class. And he goes, thank you so much for allowing us to go to that class. I learned so much. I learned not to ask the kids what they do with their mothers. She asked me, she goes, what do you think about the class? I said, I did learn one thing. I learned what parental alienation is. Now, unfortunately, it was the first time I heard it, but I didn't think about it after the kids were taken in a few months later. It didn't dawn on me. But I explained to her what the definition was. And she goes, yeah, that's where, parents use the children and they reject the other parent. And I said, I think that's going on, and I think it's been going on for the last 13 years. So then she said, I want to go off the record. What did you think about my homework assignment? I said, let me tell you something. I went into that class and they were appalled that you continue to send women with an abuser into the same class. And she said to me, if he's a gun-wielding person or is psychotic, he could have taken everyone out. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, I didn't say that about him. I'm just saying this could be really a bad deal for someone if they're in an even worse situation. And she says, oh, I'll take that into consideration. Well, like I just said, she hasn't. She continues to do it. I've talked to other women. She's continued to do it. So anyway, I get the kids back. I'm going to fast forward a few months later, and I told her he's going to take them again. In October 30th, 2013, and from April to October, he kept taking them out of school without my permission. And then he'd go, well, Kaylin's sick. She needs her wisdom teeth pulled. What do you mean she needs her wisdom teeth pulled? She's got braces in. Don't you dare get her wisdom teeth pulled. I'm the primary custodial parent. Don't you dare. He had them taken off, and he took her wisdom teeth out. She had to get them back, put back on. Her wisdom teeth weren't even in. They were deep in. Even Kaylin, I went and found the documents, and she says, I'm not in any pain. He forcibly had those dug out of her mouth just to get her out of school for a few more hours. And said my son had some sort of ailment that day. He took him to a doctor, and the doctor said he just had a stomach ache. But he said, Jody, you're too busy with 4 kids. You can't properly take care of them. So I took him out of school. Really. And no one seems to care. No judge. I've told about this behavior all the time. Doesn't matter. So fast forward October 30th, 2013 was the last time I saw my kids. We were on a hayride, and he completely made up some stuff, and it's the last day I seen him.
Jody, say that date again. Say that date again.
October 30th, 2013 for my older 2 children. Yeah.
You haven't seen the older two children since 2013. It is now 2017. You've had to endure this from 2013 all the way now till we are in November of 2017. From October 2013 all the way to November 2017. See, this is something
the only kind of meeting I've had with these kids, I've seen the oldest one twice, a total of 5 minutes. Once at her graduation, I was never invited to, and it was horrific. She said, you've never done shit for me my whole life. I go, that's a lie, Kaylin. I came to say how proud I am of you. She goes, get the hell away from me. And I said, I just want your picture. And she said, that's not happening. And I begged her, and my friend was there and said, just let her have a picture. And she goes, fine. The next meeting was in November last year, 2016, 2 minutes in the hallway. And she said, you're scaring me. Get away from me. And now she's at this time 20. And that's all I've had, 5 minutes. My son, I've seen 4 hours in 4 years.
4 hours in 4 years.
4 hours, yeah.
And how was he? Is he just incomprehensible to what's happened to them? They have no idea.
Yeah, he's completely non-empathetic. He stated to me, I said, why didn't you show up for a subpoena, Ian? You're an adult, and you were subpoenaed to show up for a deposition. And he says, I don't have to show up to court if Dad doesn't. And that's what the judges are doing. If you don't make these people accountable, they're teaching our kids not to be accountable as well. And me and my son had a great time together. It was just in my car. He allowed me to come and see him at University of Iowa. And the only reason, Fran, he let me do it is his dad was in the hospital. But he said to me, and he was 18, whatever you do, don't you tell my dad I've been in your car. I said, well, how's he going to know you got home? He says, well, there's a mega bus. I'll just let him think I came home on the mega bus. And then we're taking selfies, and he's smiling and not back to his old self, doesn't call me mom at all. It's hey. I've never been called mom by the older two at all since that time. And he says, whatever you do, don't send me a picture. Don't send the picture to my phone. I said, why? He goes, I just don't like pictures of myself. I go, Ian, you're constantly taking selfies. Kids always do it. But he's not supposed to have pictures. I think it's just that maybe Tim didn't say don't have one. It's going to cause trouble if he sees it, is what it is. And Ian doesn't want to be in the middle. So our only conversation, and the reason why I'm saying this is because of a letter I heard about Monday. So that's why I'm saying this about this letter. So last October 2016 is the time I saw my son. The only time really in that 4 years. Okay, so it'd been 3 years by that time. And so I pick him up. He shows me all around the campus. We go to eat, and I said, how are your sisters? Meaning the twins that were abducted in March of 2015. He says, it's horrible. They're horrible. I said, what do you mean they're horrible? He goes, I can't stand them. I can't stand the drama there. I can't stand to be in the middle. I try not to go home. I don't remember my childhood. He says, and I sure don't remember you. I don't remember anything about you. And so I'm sitting there at lunch and I'm saying, Ian, you don't remember when you used to fight in the car with these sisters. And whichever one you were fighting with, I'd pull over the car. And one day I had you and Kaylin out dancing in the rain in front of the car. And I'm doing strobe lights with my headlights. We're on the middle of a gravel road. I mean, out in the middle of nowhere. I want people to know it's not unsafe. It's 1 a.m. after we were coming back from the state fair. And I said, and you two start giggling, and the twins are in the back, and they folded their arms and pouted. I said, what's wrong with you? They said, we wanted to dance too. And we all laughed. And now we're all 5 out in the middle of the rain, and we're dancing. Because I was like not a mom that was like strict or whatever. I mean, I was a fun mom. And I didn't spank them. I didn't beat them. I didn't slap them. I made stuff fun. Even their punishment I made fun, which sounds crazy. I didn't put them in the corner. You know, I took away things. If they were all fighting, I took the laundry basket full of unmatched socks, and I said, it's time to go fish with the socks, and made them come together as a group. And they started laughing about it, and then it was like a win-win for me. They started getting together, and I got things done. So, and he says, I don't remember that. Okay, do you remember going to Worlds of Fun? And you guys laughed at me because I'm crying because you're on that tallest roller coaster in the world. And I'm like, oh, I can't watch, because they all hold their hands up. I'm over in a cafeteria going, I can't watch. And they run up to me and they're like, what? Were you down here crying the whole time? And I go, yes, I didn't think I'd see you again. And he goes, I don't remember. That was a year before he was taken. He was 15. And I said, Ian, I raised you till you're almost 16. He goes, I don't remember. Okay, so 3 months later, in January of this year, my son calls me at 7:30 in the morning. I said, oh my God, what's wrong? This isn't normal for him to call me. He says, I wanted you to be the first to know I changed my major from pre-med to psychology, and no one knows it but you. And I said, well, I don't know why you're in pre-med anyway. I can only imagine it's because your dad was dating that doctor, but you wanted to be an engineer and be in the military, and I don't understand. He says, well, for now, I'm going to change it to psychology because I don't remember you. He kept saying it again. Something's wrong with my head. He says, I need help. Something's wrong with me. And I said, Ian, since you're an adult, I'm going to tell you what's wrong. Parental alienation, what's happened is he's reinvented your past. Your dad wasn't in your life, Ian. Do you think your dad was in your life? Because, yeah, all the time I go, when, Ian? I remember you fainting on your birthday when I surprised you and your dad showed up. And I kept saying, Tim, quit saying you're coming when you're not coming. Don't get these kids built up and then you don't come, because I'm the bad guy then. I have to say he's not coming. He would call them and say, it's your mom's fault. I can't show up. Your mom did something with taxes. I can't go up. It's all about me. And one day I just said, you know, if you're going to show up for his birthday, let me make it a surprise. I'll pull my son out of school and I'll drive to Des Moines. It was an hour and a half away. And you just meet us. And if you're not there, it's fine. I won't complain. We'll just go eat dinner and it'll be like it never happened, because he won't know. He says, okay, I promise I'm coming in. So now I'm on the cell phone. I can hear. And he goes, yep, I just walked into the mall. I said, okay. So I had my son looking at shirts, and his dad tapped him on the shoulder. Hadn't seen him in 18 months. Tapped him on his shoulder, and he goes, I think that'd look really sharp on you, buddy. And my son turned around and went, damn, down to the ground, flat, fainted. And my ex goes, wow, maybe I better start hanging around more, huh? I go, you think? I mean, when a kid faints because he sees his dad, and I think he was 9 or 10 at that time. A year later, his dad does it again, and he says, I can't show up. My son was having a panic attack. We're at the movie theater, and it's in a little town. And I try to compensate for every time his dad didn't show up. I'm taking these kids to Six Flags or something, always to compensate, always, 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 or movies or whatever. I'm like spoiling them. We go to the movie. There's 8 of us, I think, together there. And it's a Johnny Depp movie when he peers out of the grass, and my son jumps and faints in my lap. His eyes are rolling back in his head. I couldn't even feel any breath. I thought he'd choked on popcorn. I'm running him up to the front, laying him on the, or sitting him on the counter. And I'm like, breathe and breathe. And I got a lady trying to help me. We run him to the emergency room and call 911. They hook him up to all these machines. I said, my son's got Asperger's. You've got to tell him what that blue line means. My son's going to think it's code blue, and he's dying. And he goes, well, he ain't coming too. We don't know what's going on. 45 minutes later, my son's kind of looking around going, where am I? And he says, Mommy, I'm dying. And he sees the blue line. I said, you're not dying, Ian. It's okay, buddy. He says, do you think if my dad knew I was dying, that he'd show up? Can you just call him? And maybe he'll show up. And they all took me out into the hall and said, what's he talking about? And they said, God, we now just figured out what happened. He was having a panic attack all the way down the street from the phone call into the theater. And he said he was still having that inside. And when he got scared, it threw off his heart somehow, and he lost oxygen. So, I mean, I'm just trying to give everyone a sense of, this guy has never been around, okay? So now, I mean, I'm going to fast forward up because there's no sense of going on and on. This same son, a few years later, my ex asked if he could show up because he hadn't bonded with the kids, and he had surgery, supposedly, back surgery, prostate, all sorts of stuff. He says, can I stay at your house and recuperate? Sure, that'd be great, because the kids haven't seen him. Supposed to be there 2 weeks. He ended up there 3 months. Had his shirt off one time. There was no scar for back surgery. Nothing. I didn't say anything. I just, whatever. You know, something happened. He probably got kicked out of where he was. I let him stay there. In May, he asked if he could take my son to Kemah, Texas, on a sailboat, and he was supposed to be there 2 weeks, never showed up, never came home, ended up in Pennsylvania without telling me. My daughter, I took her to the airport once, my oldest, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. She was supposed to go to Knoxville, Tennessee, stopping in Chicago. It was her first plane ride. Made arrangements with Tim to pick her up. I said, get her from point A to point B. You understand that? Yeah. He took her to San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. My daughter was doing selfies on Twitter to get the message to me, she says, because he wouldn't let her use the phone to call me to tell me. So she was trying to relay a message to know, because I didn't know where my kid was. I'm calling the airport police. Okay, so that's kind of his behavior, you know, and everyone that's gone through this probably knows it's the same old, same old. We're all going, I mean, it's just different faces, you know, these games, this gaslighting, just to make me think, where are my kids? You're never going to get them back again. So now here we come, you know, fast forward now. He's taken them October 2013. What?
Nope, keep going. Sorry about that.
October 2013, like I said, was the last time I saw the older two, other than that 4 hours and that 5 minutes. And then it took 5 months to get a court hearing. several delays. We get into court on that one, and I want you to look this up. Judge Gregory Hulse.
Hold on.
Okay. Hulse. HULSE.
Oh yeah, he comes right up.
Oh yeah.
He
He's
comes
a dandy.
I found
Yeah,
him.
and he definitely doesn't care about domestic abuse. He got I think an Iowa State football player or an Iowa University football player off on domestic abuse charges just so he could play the next game. You'll find that. I think it's in the Deland Register.
He's one of those charming ones.
Yep. So he was in, this one was out of same district as Martha Mertz. It's the 5th Judicial District of Iowa. But this one was in Dallas County. Okay.
We'll be posting him as well.
Okay. So we get into his courtroom on February 25th, 2014. The day before that hearing was my dad's memorial. My dad had died. And it's just 12 blocks from my ex's home. I told my ex my dad had died and I wanted to see my older 2 children that were abducted at that memorial. They never showed. So I haven't even been able to grieve my father's death. I'm standing at the door grieving for my children that aren't showing up at this memorial. My whole entire family is like, couldn't believe it. So, so here I am grieving the children, not at my dad's memorial. I'm supposed to be grieving my dead father. And my father just 3 days before says, I'm never going to see these children, am I? I don't think so. You know, he knew he only had a few days left. So here we are in the courtroom, and I've had 4 hours of sleep. And my ex is saying all these false allegations. The guardian ad litem, Jane Rosine, Rosein, Jane Rosine, she's a guardian ad litem and a lawyer, said that the older 2 children hated me, said that they had been abused forever by me, physically, verbally. None of that happened. And then said my twins had a very good relationship with me and we were like best of friends. So she did say in the report, though, that the children should still see each other. So I got to hand her that part. She did say that.
The children should, not the mother, the children.
Not the mother, but the children should still be able to see each other. But the judge didn't care because he wanted to separate the siblings. So I never dreamed this would ever happen. The judge says the kids have to initiate contact since they're so adamantly against the mother. You can't see the kids. You get no visitation. And I told him my daughter was raped. This is what I've been told, raped by 4 boys. I was never told by my ex. Some young boy that was at the school told my brother-in-law, who told me. Mm-hmm. So I'm in there talking about this alleged rape, which I hope it's not true. I hope to God it's not true. And I'm telling Judge Hulse about this. I said, apparently my daughter's been raped on his watch during that 5-month span. And he never told me, and he never reported to the police. He says, how do you know he didn't report to the police? I go, because I went to the police. There's no report. The cop laughed at me, said, where did it happen? How do I know? I'm going by fourth party, information. And nothing's been done about that either. There's been they haven't investigated. They've done nothing. But my ex gets on the stand at that moment, and my lawyer, who was Kevin Hobbs, I love him. So, I mean, if you're going to put anything good about anyone, I mean, if you ever put a good one, Kevin Hobbs is good.
We do. We definitely do.
Okay.
Kevin Hobbs.
Kevin Hobbs.
We like the good attorneys. We like good attorneys.
Yeah, he was my attorney for 13 years. He even quit family law because of my case. He said, I'm done. It's too corrupt. I'm done. He says, I'm sticking with criminal. It's at least cut and dry. And a very good guy. If anyone has a criminal case, I would look him up, recommend him. But anyway, he quit family law because of it. He says, I've never in my life seen such a disingenuous man in my entire life, such a liar, and the corruption, I can't believe it. But anyway, he asked him on the stand, was there a rape? He said, yes. He says, did you tell Jody? No. Did you report it to the police? He said, no. Why is that? I didn't want my daughter to relive the nightmare. Is she in counseling? No, she's fine. Okay, she's fine. So nothing came of it. He just said, well, Jody, he gave away your visitation. And I said, can I appeal it? And Kevin goes, Jody, it's just going to come back to the same judge. I think it's all corrupt. You know, the kids they're just so damaged by him. Of course, I wasn't going back to think about parental alienation at that time. You know, that was before I heard about parental alienation, you know, at that point. And so I didn't even know what this was. I just said, he's trying to get him against me. I don't get it. And my own attorney, of course, didn't even know what it was. He goes, I don't get it. I don't get it. He goes, I think they just want all the cars and the good, you know, and all the materialistic stuff. So I just gave up. I didn't try and appeal. I was so broke anyway. You know, I'd already spent on that one $25,000. And so I just went on, and for months I went to his house for the next 3 months, and I said, let these kids see each other. And he says, get off my porch. I'd go again with the cop as a standby. Get off my effing porch. I took my twins up there. My twins said, we want to see the children. We want to see our brother and sister. He did a Vanna White move and went, there you go, take a look. I said, come on. I asked my daughter and son to come up to the front, to the door, and my daughter, who was 17, I think at the time, said, get off my effing porch. I asked Ian to get off the couch and come and see me. I said, please come and see me. My twins are standing on either side of me. He got all the way to the door. You know, he's walking like normal, but he's gets to his dad, and his dad turned around. Ian, do you want to see your mother? And my son puts his head down. I don't think so, sir, and backs away. I said, Ian, I'm not going to let him hurt you. Just cross the threshold, Bubba. Just cross. Just come on. Give me a hug. Come on. Now, Dr. Craig Childress, I told him about this incident, and he says, well, that's the part I think you did wrong, because when he shut that door, your son's in trouble because he got off that couch. And I was like, oh my God. And he says he's in big trouble for that. And he knew it. And that's why he put his head down. And, but anyway, I told my ex, we're going to be at my sister's living for the next 3 months. And then I'm moving to Texas. If you don't let me see these kids, he says, I don't care what you do. And I want everyone to know my court order doesn't say I can't move. I've got some lady, some false, and I think she's attacked Laura too, this Joni James that says, I've abducted my kids and moved to Texas. That's not true.
That's retarded.
My ex not only heard me say it several times, he heard the twins say it. I left him notes. I certified mail. I've done it all. And my court order does not say I can't move. My ex pilot.
That's something that I go over in different detail, because number one, federal law clearly states that no parent can kidnap their own child.
Yeah.
And, you know, most of these cases are so botched and absolutely convoluted and out there that they blame parents that they're kidnapping their child that have always lived inside their house. So I always joke around. I go, what did you do? Go into the bedroom and steal the child into the living room? And was that the kidnapping you did? It's insane.
Right.
It's really crazy. But meanwhile, what's happening to you is kidnapping. This is actual kidnapping.
Oh, this is kidnapping.
In the true sense of the word.
When I don't know where my kids are, I say this is kidnapping. I have no idea.
It's kidnapping. It's Stockholm syndrome. It's gaslighting. The bells and whistles are going off all over the place as you tell your story. It's just disgusting. And
it's like that book is out called Soul Murder. That's what it is. He's murdered all of our souls. 5 souls he's murdered. You know, mine and my 4 kids. But so we, you know, like I said, we walked away. We stayed at my sister's 3 months. He never contacted my sister. He never came by the house, which he was more than welcome to see the children. I told him, you're more than welcome to come see him. Nothing. I've never changed my children's phone numbers. He had access to them. I had a going away party for the kids. And I've got to say this because of something else I got to talk about. Had a big going away party for my children. 17 children showed up. All 17 of those children helped me pack that Penske truck, right? One of the children had a father that was a cop at the time. This cop is now telling other police that I kidnapped my children. But when he picked up Anna, he saw her putting stuff in the truck. If he was so concerned about me kidnapping the children, why didn't he stop me? He watched me basically as I'm getting ready to leave. And the cop knows, because the cops say it's a civil matter. So why would he even tell other cops she kidnapped her kid? Like you just said, if you can't kidnap them, because they're your kid. Why would a cop say I kidnapped them? This whole thing, this gaslighting, Tim's made him think that he had custody. This man never had custody of these children. Never. I had primary custody. We've had joint legal. He never once had custody of these children their whole life until he abducted them, you know, and took them out of my reach. So we go to Texas, Fran. We're down there 9 months. After 6 months in Texas, Texas has jurisdiction, right? My kids started talking to the oldest one in November of 2014. She writes, as I'm sitting there, my girls are like, yay, they're elated. Kaylin wrote us and asked what we wanted for Christmas. And I said, be careful. I don't think that's her. And the things that were being said sounded like my ex. She said, Dad can't sleep at night because you're not in his life. Well, then really, why isn't he calling them? They still have the same number, right? They didn't know his number because he changes his number. So they continued to talk, and I didn't know it until later, and I had one of their phones, and Kaylin was convincing them into moving in with them. So she was doing some gaslighting herself at whatever age she was at that time. She would have been 18, convincing them to come up there. Well, so on March 19th, 2015, my children got on a plane in the middle of the night, and a PTA lady named Sharon Rhodes Lane gave them a ride to the airport while I was at work. She's never been charged with a crime of whether it's harboring a runaway, enticing a minor, abduction of someone's child. The cops said that my ex told her to take him to the airport. Well, he had no jurisdiction, or whatever you want to call it. He had no lawful, I don't know, way to do this. He doesn't even know this lady. He doesn't live in Texas. He's never met her. I think what happened is he told them to enlist a ride, to get a ride from somebody. They chose their friend's mother, said that they were being abused, which they weren't. All they did was took their phones away 4 days prior. For a week, grounded them from something they did in spring break, and took them to the airport. I called her that night because the cops said they crossed a certain road, and I said, that's the only person they know down there. And my daughter had just said that night, we're with Sharon. I said, who's Sharon? She said, you know, Parker's mom. She took us to Quick Trip to get a snack, and I said, get your asses home. You don't get in a stranger's car. And they said, Mom, you know her. Yeah, I've seen her twice in my life. Get home. And I said, get out of the car. I mean, Quick Trip's only like 3 blocks from my house. No. And she was on speaker, and I said, get home. She goes, we're just getting a snack. And she goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting dinner. They called me 10 minutes later, and my daughter says, one of my twins, did you say you're bringing us dinner? No, I've never brought you dinner. We just ate dinner before I went to work, and I work nights, right? And I said, she goes, well, we were afraid we weren't going to be here. Why aren't you going to be there? You're supposed to be home. Well, they were afraid I was going to come home early enough and find out they had taken off. So when I called that lady late at night after the cops got there and everything, I said, if you took them, if I don't hear from you, I'll know that you are guilty and complicit in this abduction. So never heard from her. Still haven't heard from her. And the DA just called me last week and said, well, we're not going to prosecute because you very well could be the abuser. So they're not going to prosecute her.
Very well. So just, you know, at a haphazard, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want, despite what our laws say. Just because you may be, I'm just going to ignore this crime over here because you may be a criminal. Right. I mean, you know, did I really just hear that? Yes. And he goes, well, we called the dad and he said that you abused him. I go, oh, okay. The same guy that hasn't seen the kids forever. But he's never. Wait a minute. You know, we have a country that's supposed to be guilty till proven. You didn't have a trial. You weren't convicted of anything. You've never been arrested. Well, not for a child they abused. We've all, every advocate. I don't think I've met an advocate ever that hasn't been arrested. But you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Never for anything against children.
How are we going to shut her up? Oh, I don't know. Get some bogus thing on her and get her in jail as quick as you can.
Yeah, but never against her. Anything against children. I don't have a CPS case. I've never had any. The only alleged abuse I have is by that monster himself. You know, and the gaslighting he's done to the kids and the coaching of the children. That's it.
The thing is, Jody, and I want to get Lara on here, and I want to talk to Lara. But the thing is, Jody, we talk about, we have Lori, she's, we talk about parental alienation. People have told us stop using that word, and I'm not going to stop using that word because I'm not going to take a word out of our vocabulary because you don't like it, or the line comes down to this. We define what the meaning of parental alienation is. You are a clear case. It can't get any more obvious. How do you want me to spell it? How do you want me to sound it out? It is parental alienation. It is a crime. It is, because the excuse for this and the court's remedy in their psychopathic way of thinking is this mother may have caused abuse when there's no proof of it. There's nothing. This mother may have alienated the children due to her claims of abuse. Okay. All right. But let's just say you did do that. Let's just say you did. Let's pretend worst case scenario, that's what you did. Okay. Because 99% of these cases that I see, let me tell you something. When we pull up that criminal history of the person that they're accusing, there is one. There's a criminal history. And it's an ongoing criminal history. So don't tell me that it's fake, because it's not. Now, we got the mothers out there that are doing this bull crap. We know it. We know it. That's true. I'm not saying it's not, but that's not going to negate the fact that this is really happening to people and there is genuine abuse. Their remedy for this is to alienate you from all these years, and look at the effects of it on your children. So that's their remedy. That doesn't make sense. That's like saying, well, if I hit my head up against the wall, I'm going to get a dent. So my remedy for that is hit my head on the other side of the wall. It doesn't make any friggin' sense what they're doing to keep out of the children's life and to keep the children out of your life like this for all these years, and to just continue to abuse you. And that video, I mean, it speaks volumes. And here you are fighting.
Like Dr. Craig Childress, the remedy isn't to keep them from the targeted parent. The remedy is to put them in the life of the targeted parent, and do a sequestration for 90 days to get them away from that abuser, and my son could have really benefited from that, to reinvent, or not reinvent, but to give him his past back that had been erased. I could have put all that back into his head by pictures and just being around me. He would have known I'm not the abuser that his dad says I am.
They need to see how real this is, though. And just by hearing your story, America needs to understand what happens to children, what gaslighting does, and it happens to adults too. And
then here's what Holst did, and because I want to make sure you get the other judges' names too. But Greg Holst, that already took the kids in 2014, Fran. After Tim took my kids in March 19th, he goes in front of Greg Holst and does an ex parte, does an emergency primary custodial thing. I'm not served, right? I didn't get served because my Tarrant County, my Fort Worth lawyer, didn't even file notice of appearance. I'm working nights. They're trying to serve me during the day, and I'm asleep. I can't hear it. I have a huge, duplex. I can't hear them knock on the door. Didn't even have a doorbell. So I'm not served. I'm not privy to it. He says, the kids haven't even been in school. So he was contending that I'd never put them in school down in Texas. So the judge is going, oh, oopsie, they haven't been in school. Well, that makes it an emergency. So we're going to now let Tim put them in school, because that's a problem. Never investigated it. How the hell did they know the PTA lady if they weren't in school? So he gives them to him. And I'm like, wait a minute. He even said in the paper, I have it, that it's not normal for the courts to take a child from someone that's not even there, but they're going to do it anyway. I mean, the words like right there. And so he does it anyway. I find out later, and it took 3 months from that time for my lawyer, who was awful, Richard Webster, we go into mediation. I said, I'll give you 1 hour. We're in there 7 hours of mediation. He says, your ex wants a guardian ad litem. I said, absolutely not. Nix that idea. He wants a parent coordinator. No. We're only doing a reunification therapist, which is going to be a forensic psychologist. The only reason I knew about that, I paid $5,000 for a parental alienation consultant who called 75 psychologists in Iowa, and only 4 of them knew what parental alienation was. 4 out of 75. So we gave Tim the list and said, you pick the doctor. He picks the doctor, and then he doesn't go. When we finally get him in, which was like several months later, he says to the doctor, Jody's not happy with the reunification therapy, so we probably need to quit. And he goes, well, how could Jody be happy? You haven't been in here. She's been here 3 times, 720 miles, and there's no children sitting in here. She can't reunify with herself. I'm taking pictures of empty chairs. And I'm like, well, leave the room and I'll just talk to my children. I mean, like, I'll just pretend they're there because I'm already paying for an hour. And we may, you know, me and him, the doctor just talked about the weather, and we went to school at the same school, and that was it. And anyway, he wouldn't go. We had that court order, like I said. Then my lawyer, I said, why can't you enforce that order? Well, my lawyer said, you can't enforce a mediation agreement. I go, I don't understand. Of course, now I know you have to have the judge sign the thing. So I hope people remember that. I didn't know that. You can have a mediation agreement, and that's just a suggestion until the judge orders it or signs it, right? So it took several months later, then we get the judge to sign it. And guess what he did the day he signed it? He took away the rest of my child support. Originally I was getting $1,500 a month for all 4 kids. When he took the older 2, a pilot flying to Paris, he wouldn't roll out of bed for 29 grand. He makes 70 to 80,000 on a bad year if he calls in sick every day. They believed his bullshit. Took $1,100 from me overnight. Then we get in front of Judge Holst on January this year, or 2016. Sorry, they won't let me go in the chambers, and they took the rest of the $550 from me overnight. My lawyer, Rich Webster, comes in and says, sorry, you'll have to get another job. He just took that money. I said, how can he take that money? It's a temporary primary. I'm still maintaining a home for these children. I had to get rid of my duplex and go get a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. Now, Rich, my lawyer says, well, you can't put 2 children in a 1-bedroom apartment. You're right. But you got my money taken away, my own lawyer.
Right.
And I'm like, so now all my stuff's in storage, and I can't even afford storage. So I had to sell things. So then after I sell things, get this, I put a garage sale sign out. Tim's attorney says, Jody sold all the kids' stuff. Well, no, Jody sold stuff, and Jody sold her antiques from her grandmother, and Jody sold her bedroom set. I didn't sell my kids' stuff. I had to sell some of their clothes, but it was clothes that they weren't fitting, but they weren't coming back, Fran. I knew that I'd never see them again. The minute they got on the plane, I knew I'd never see them again.
You know, and Jody, just for the sake of those that are watching, and to really emphasize and bring it home, in the hopes that your story will help others, and also hopefully that your story, your children will one day watch and realize the truth and learn the truth. But, and this is not to bring up any more further hurt for you, but I'm hoping to really just make a strong statement to people so they get it. They really get it. It took how long for you to build whatever life you have right now because of all the damages? You know, it took how long would you say to get to even where you are right now, just to hold down some sense of stability in your life?
Well, I don't know if I really am, Fran. I mean, if you were to look at the floor of this paper, it's chaos. It's chaos. My car is chaotic. I can't even, I'm not organized. I can't say I was the best organized person before, but all my thoughts are on these children and getting them the help that they need. And my thoughts aren't, I'm going to ruin this bastard and I want him in jail and I want, him to hurt. No, I want my kids to have both parents, even as sick as he is. And I want to be in the lives of these children. I don't want to move them to Texas and uproot them and all that. I just want to be in the lives of my children. I'm not a monster. I've never tried to hurt him in any way. I kept him in the lives of the children. And even after he kidnapped my older 2 and kept me from them, I still had my twins, Courtney and Kylie, contact him on Father's Day, Christmas, whatever. He would never return calls to these children. I tried my best. And they was like, we're not going to write him. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. Because you're going to be the better person. And that's what he should be doing. He should be encouraging the relationship between the mother and the mother of his children and these children.
Yeah. Wow.
Not only do they lose me, they're going to lose a grandma someday for their children.
And I want to say to you, I am impressed with your answer, because I know that would not be my answer. Because he's an abuser on every level. He's an abuser, but I am very impressed with your answer. And you know what, Mama, you shouldn't have to be begging for crumbs. This has you've been literally put through hell. But I have because of the time span.
And do Paul Husher. I want you to make sure Paul Husher's name is said, because he's the one that took the twins. And he did the same order as Greg Holtz. Paul Husher, Huscher.
Okay, we'll get him up as well.
It was 650 days before I had a hearing from the time they got on that plane.
Oh no, we have him up, don't we? We have him. Yeah,
Paul Husher, and he also did the same kind of order. The kids have to initiate contact. Mom gets no visits. And in my order, it just says we don't communicate between me and the ex. That's my only crime. Totally you can't communicate with a narcissist.
It's bizarre. It's beyond words. I'm going to take on Lara right now, but we thank you for your story, and hang on there for a minute, because we do have a time limit. But Lara, if you, I know you have some input on this. Lara's a mediator and an advocate.
Well, hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hear me? So I've been helping mediate with Jody. Obviously, it's a huge case and she needs help. What I do is I step back from the emotional part of things and think, how can we move forward? And it's good to do, because with all of us and our own cases, you'll find that you're so emotional about your own case. But yet you can clearly see someone else's case. So helping others is critical with moving the cases forward. Now, the only problem we truly have is that we're working within fake administrative courtrooms. And so how do you maneuver a case forward when you're not even dealing in the civil courts? I mean, it's mind-boggling that a mother would have to wait for her mid-teenagers to contact her when they're living in the home of an obvious alienator. I mean, your mind just goes, why would you put young children in the middle, number one? And number two, if there isn't any crime, whether it be physically or emotional, then why was visitation not directed and demanded? Because we're supposed to be dealing within a statute that looks at a broad range of things, and it can't be in a child's best interest to not be with one of their parents. Now, if one of them has criminal proceedings against them and has truly hurt a child, then obviously that person should not be with the children, or there should be massive restrictions. You know, that's why supervised visitation exists. But I can't understand in this case, and this is why Jody's case is very compelling and why it's so outrageous and egregious. I've gone through she has been incredibly transparent, giving me every single piece of information that I would possibly need. Everything she talks about is consistent. She doesn't change her story, which is critical. And I mean, if any judge within a family court should have realized a long time ago that parallel parenting was critical in this case. That's all that needed to happen. In her time, she got to do what she does, which always happened anyway. There was a long history of this. And in his time, which, because he's an international pilot, would have determined the fact that he wasn't available that much. I have to say, if he didn't have the older daughter or the older children in the twins' life, he probably wouldn't have been able to parent these children. And by the way, older children within the household should not be parenting.
Right.
That's not their job.
Yeah.
So, you know, the whole 4+ years that she's been dealing with have been so absurd. But there was a long history of him misbehaving and not being in the children's lives. Why was he given so much credibility? Well, the only thing that makes sense, and I've spoken to Jody about this, is the 2010 Obama incentives for dads. And I've seen a lot of cases that have imploded since that time. And it was to encourage dads to be dads. And I applaud that ideal. The problem is when you involve incentives, you then involve corruption. at the highest level. And we're dealing with families and children. Oh my God. I mean, talk about childhood pains, family hurt, and a new generation of hurt people and children growing into young adults and parents themselves. We've got a pandemic. Let's be clear about what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
It's utterly horrific, and this is why we're emphasizing we're having a meeting tomorrow evening with the private core team, and you guys are welcome on that one. And also, we're getting ready. We're doing a national citizens arrest. That's it. There's nothing left. We're doing it, and if I have to go pulling people out of their houses, I'm going to do it because we're doing this. We're doing this.
Do you want me, Fran, to tell you how that video transpired, what came up by that real quick, so people understand?
Yeah. Yes.
You want me?
Yes.
Okay, what that took place because I filed a motion as pro se for a motion for release of information, which Laura's got, and another motion called temporary visitation and therapeutic visits for my children. Okay, therapeutic visits for myself with the PTSD that has been caused by these courts not seeing my children and them being abducted, and therapeutic visits for my children because now they're suicidal, both of them, I've found out now, because of what's going on between, you know, them being put in the middle and things like that. And one of my twins told me in person she wanted to commit suicide because the judge is forcing her to initiate contact, and she goes, I can't do that. So I filed those two motions, right? So we get in there, and it's a whole new judge, one I've never seen, one that didn't do the order. So when I did the motion for the order, in 2 days I had the order for the hearing. Well, Tim was an e-filer, and he had an attorney of record named Alan Wilson. I contacted the courthouse and I said, do I have to subpoena him? She says, no, because in Iowa, you're an e-filer, they're an e-filer. You don't have to do that for these particular motions anyway. It's not like an original, I wasn't starting something new. It was based on the November order, right? And the motion to release information was strictly to tell me what sole legal is. They granted him sole legal, even though he only asked for primary, and that's where, like Laura was telling about the Obama thing. He only asked for primary. He never asked for sole legal. His mouth just dropped open when they gave him sole legal. I'm looking at him. He was shocked because he didn't ask for that. He asked for primary. And so he knows deep down I'm a great mom. And so that tells me right there was the incentives to knock me completely out and erase me. But that motion for release information was strictly telling me, I just want the judge to write in the order, Jody's rights have never been terminated. Because the school, like Laura knows, has been violating my rights, violating FERPA and HIPAA, and stated I can't be on school grounds, that I can't have access to their information, that I can't go to graduation, that I can't go to parent-teacher conferences, or even to football games to watch my cheerleader daughter and the football manager. So I don't know why in the hell the judge couldn't have at least, without doing the temporary visits, without Tim there. Tim doesn't need to be there for her to write an order that says Jody's rights were never terminated, to at least get me into parent-teacher conferences.
Hey, listen.
It's in the codified law. It's already in the codified law. Now, I know the law. I know that I have just as much rights as he does. The only thing sole legal gave him in the state of Iowa is he gets to determine what school they go to and what hospital, period. He doesn't get to erase me, but he was able to tell the school to erase my name from all the records, that my rights were terminated. So he's been lying to everybody. And so if I could have just walked out with one item, something tangible, it would have not set off that emotion like that. But instead, she goes, we'll see you on December 11th. Well, by then, parent-teacher conference is over. I've missed even getting their pictures, and I've missed all the football games. It'll be over. And so I've now got a notification of trespass the school gave because they made a false police report. So I went about it the backwards way, and I did an open records request. They said I had a no contact order, said then produce it. So I did an open record. Where's my no contact order? The superintendent says you don't have one. Oh, no, you don't understand. I write him again. Yeah, I do. Remember, there was a police report said I had a no contact order. He writes again. No, you don't have one. I think Laura's seen that thread too. You don't have one. Now he's backtracking and said, oh, you can be at graduation. You can be at parent teacher, or not at parent teachers. You can be at events. You can be on school grounds for those things. But you have to ask Terry to go to parent teacher conferences. No, you don't ask an abuser to go see your children. That'd be like if I was raped. Oh, can I see my children now? I was raped. I had them. Now can I go see them, sir? No. So I don't know why she didn't give me that. And I just pounded my fist. I wish you, and I'll have the audio for you because you're lucky, Fran. We went to see the ADA coordinator, right? And I demanded audio in my court hearing, which nobody gets. They granted it to me. Wow. So now I'm going to have everyone, the whole world will hear what I told that judge. You're going to be...
I wish we had it now. We don't have it right now.
God, I can't wait. I should have it within about 7 days.
Oh, we'll be doing a re-interview then.
I asked her why she's sitting up there in that black robe in front of the Admiralty flags. Oh, yes, I did. And the cops came in and I said, how dare you? This is a fake court. The whole thing's fake.
I already know. Ted's got that one ready to go. So what we're gonna do, just because we need to cut now, unfortunately, but we do need to cut it now because we have another one after this, and I got to go run myself beforehand. But we appreciate your story. I'm hoping that this is going to set off more attention, and also I'm hoping that this is going to help to catapult the National Citizens Arrest Day that we're about to give you the date for. We just want to play this video one last time now that you've seen the story, in hopes that everybody's going to really get some fire under your butts because something has to be done. I want to thank you, Jody. I want to thank you, Lara. And I want to thank you, Ted, for also broadcasting this. And this is being broadcast in, I think, 4 different locations right now. That right? So yeah, guys, thank you. And here's that video one last time. And thank you again for being on Punish for Protecting.
Thank you.
I just want to tell him goodbye. Just let me tell him goodbye so I can end my life tonight. I want to tell my babies goodbye.
Come on.
Ted playing it.
I just want to tell him goodbye. I'm begging you to let me see my kid's face. Why can't I say goodbye to my children? Why can't mothers get their fucking kids in the cell? Why are only men getting them? Even Chuck Grassley said that I should have my kids. What is wrong with you people? I want that judge arrested right now. Your citizen's arrest. She's violating my rights. Go get her.
They continued it to the 11th. They continued it to the 11th since Tim wasn't served. She thought Sherry his attorney.